Hey guys, Sugar here, and today I'm just doing this really quick video to answer one of the most common questions people have about art, and that is, how do you get into art? Or, I'm a beginner artist and I want to start drawing manga or anime style artwork, and do you have any tips for me? And I always answer this question with, you should first learn how to draw realistic style artwork, so like realism, and many people are confused because it's understandable, I guess, because realism style art is like the complete opposite of cartoon or anime style artwork. So I just want to explain why, and hopefully this will help anyone else that wants to get into, drawing but don't know where to start. So I first started drawing realistically before I taught myself anime and manga style artwork, and looking back, that was a really good choice. In hindsight, I learned a lot from that experience, and in general, it helped me improve faster as an artist in the long run. To explain what I mean by drawing realistically, I mean by using pencil or charcoal to drawing black and white, and just drawing the world around you, for example, still life, everyday objects you find in your house, or drawing a real person's face rather than attempting to draw a cartoon person's face, like stuff like that. So one of the most obvious benefits to drawing realistically first is that you can learn about proportions and anatomy correctly. And this is a really common mistake I see in younger beginner artists. They don't have a sense of human anatomy, and I commonly see drawings with arms that are too short or legs that are too short, or just the torso in general is too long for the body, stuff like that. And one of the reasons that this occurs is because you become so accustomed to the proportions in anime and manga and how skewed they are, because that kind of art style exaggerates the realistic, and that's why it's important to first learn the origins of that art, so from real life, drawing realistically first, before you move on to drawing anime and manga. And in this way you'll transition more smoothly, you won't have skewed proportions, and in general, you'll have a much better sense of human anatomy, perspective, proportions, stuff like that. And this is where that saying applies, that you should learn the rules before you break them. Because in a sense, anime and manga style artwork is breaking the rules of artwork, breaking the rules of human proportions, human anatomy. So it's really important to first learn about how to draw correctly first. So first learn by drawing realistically first, before you move on to drawing anime and manga style. Another thing is, when you're drawing realistically in black and white, you're forced to learn about value. And value in art is basically how light or dark something is, so think about light sources, think about shadows. You have to learn how to draw the object in such a way that it looks like the object, despite there not having any color in the picture. So, for example, you're trying to draw a red apple, and you have no access to color, so you have to use your knowledge of value and shade the apple so that it looks like an apple and it looks 3D and it looks real. And to apply this to anime or manga style drawings, when you draw manga, you have to apply screen tones, because it's not just black lines on a white sheet of paper. There's also gray tones in between, which you apply with screen tones. And having the correct knowledge of where to apply the shadows on the picture so that it looks correct comes from the knowledge of value from realistic style drawing. And you may think this is obvious because it's kind of intuitive, how shadows land, how dark they are, but I've also seen many mistakes in manga style drawing where people don't know how far the shadow lands, or they don't know that the darkest part of the shadow is the nearest to the figure. Or I see drawings with awkward light sources, awkward lighting, or just really bad shading in general. So I think having this knowledge of value and knowing how to properly draw in black and white before you transition into maybe coloring your anime character is really important in all styles of art. Especially anime and manga style artwork where everything is simplified, so where you place your shadows has to be on point and completely correct. Also, when you begin drawing realistically, you are forced to be perceptive of detail, and I think that this is a skill that's really important in manga style artworks. Despite the fact that manga is a simplified version of the real world, you still need to have a sense of a level of detail that allows you to draw things that allow people to see that they are the stylized version of something else. And one example, the main example that I can think of is wrinkles in clothing. I think most people just don't know how clothes wrinkle, how they bend, and that can easily be solved by first drawing cloth realistically. First, learn how cloth bends, learn how different types of cloth spill over and fold into each other. And in some of the worst cases, some people forget that there's wrinkles entirely in clothing and it's just a block of a shirt. But that's completely understandable. After all, you're just starting out and no one expects you to be perfect at first. But that's why I think that starting out by drawing realistically will really help you in the long run. Like, you'll avoid many of the problems that you might encounter if you first start out by drawing manga or anime style artwork. In general, I think starting out realistically is really helpful, especially if you're serious about learning art in the long run. It won't help out in the short run because you have to learn it well first, but in the long run, it's really, really useful. To not only manga or anime style artwork, but to like oil painting, watercolor, ink. You all need this application of value, knowing of proportion, attention to detail, in all of these types of art. And realism with pencil or charcoal is like the basis for learning those things about art. So if you want to get into drawing anime or manga style artwork, or any kind of artwork for that matter, I would really like to suggest that you start off by learning some realistic art before you move on to your preferred style. This is just some advice, some tips that came from my own experiences learning art. So yeah, obviously everyone is different, everyone has different ways of learning, so this probably is not for everyone, but for someone who is kind of serious about art, might want to do art in the long run, this might be something that you can think about if you're just getting into art and you're thinking about how to start. So anyways, thanks for listening, guys, if you stuck with me all this way through, and I hope that this video has given you a bit of a new perspective on things, or maybe even helped you out. Yeah, so bye guys!